What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. Aliens Fireteam Elite 2 lands on August the 25th, which is just over 2 weeks away, and this is a much bigger swing than the first game was. Squads have gone from 3 players to 4. There is a Horde mode shipping at launch, and there is a new class that you cannot even use until you have leveled up all the others. On top of that, the enemy roster has grown well past Xenomorphs. So today we are putting everything you need to know in one place: what it costs and how the classes work, how that new endgame class actually functions, and what is trying to kill you. Let us get into it. Starting with the essentials. Aliens Fireteam Elite, 2 launches on August the 25th. That covers PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S, plus PC on both Steam and the Epic Games Store. The standard edition is $49.99. There's also a 40th anniversary premium edition at $69.99. That one adds Ripley and Herc Mondo themed outfits along with weapons and decals. And separately, there is a $9.99 pack tied to Alien Romulus that gets you Rain Carradine's outfit, plus her modified pulse rifle with a cryo underbarrel attachment. Cold Iron Studios are developing, same as the first game. So the setup: you are Colonial Marines deployed to a colony on LV-558 that has been overrun by Xenomorphs, and the developers have been careful about how they frame this one. They describe it as a 4-player fight for survival, rather than a rescue mission. That tonal shift matters. The first game was about getting in and getting out. Now, the biggest structural change is squad size. You get 4 players instead of 3, and that changes every encounter the game throws at you. On top of that, there is full cross-platform co-op, and crucially, cross-platform voice chat as well. Plenty of games ship the first without the second. Enemy behavior has also been rebuilt, and we will come back to that. There are 6 classes this time. The Duelist is your flexible primary damage option, and it has a burst configuration ability that hands you an experimental gun. The Machinist owns tech and plasma control, and it is the turret class. It gets a sentry turret, plus a bodyguard turret that actually follows you around. The Marauder is the heavy. That means blast cannons and Titan rockets. It also gets a rampage ability and reactive charges. The Hunter is the control option. It slows prey down so your squad can hit weak points. Its tools include a particle pulse, a stasis bolt, and something called No Mercy. The Duelist also carries a shrapnel grenade for crowd clearing, and the Medic keeps everybody standing with a trauma station for heals and combat stems that cut cooldowns. Then there is the Specialist, which is not really a class in the way the other 5 are. The Specialist is the headline system in this game, and it works differently to anything in the first one. Design director Chris Cross calls it the pinnacle of where you can take your builds. It is aimed squarely at clearing the highest difficulties. Here's the catch, though. You cannot just pick it and go. To build a Specialist, you have to level up your other classes first. Playing as the Specialist raises your Specialist rank. That unlocks unique perks and items, and it gives you more room to work with on the perk board, but the abilities themselves have to be unlocked on the class they came from. The example the team gives is a level 10 medic. Once you have that, everything your medic can do becomes available to your Specialist, and you can combine it with anything else you have unlocked elsewhere. The perk grid also expands from 32 slots up to 42, specifically to give that mixing room to breathe. So the Specialist is really a reward for playing everything else. If you only ever main one class, you will barely scratch it. If you level all 5, the team's own phrase for what you get is an embarrassment of riches. To show what that actually allows, 4 of the developers built their own Specialists and named them. I want to be clear, these are personal builds and not official classes because they look official on screen. The first is what they called a gunfighter. That is the Duelist burst configuration, paired with the Machinist's flying bodyguard turret, plus a Deadeye passive for stopping power. The second they called a paladin, blast cannon modded for extra damage and defense, plus the Medic's trauma station for heals. On top of that, a Guardian passive heals an ally whenever you shoot something attacking them. The third is a Grenadier, Titan rockets from the Marauder, and a cluster grenade launcher from the Duelist, plus a passive that lowers cooldowns on ability kills. And the fourth is an Elementalist built entirely around damage types. Notice what all 4 of those have in common. Every single one is pulling its abilities from 2 or 3 different classes at once. That is the whole point of the system, and it is why the game wants you leveling everything. Which brings us to weapons, because that system got rebuilt too. The old primary and secondary pattern is gone. Now you carry a primary alongside a signature weapon tied to your class. Sidearms are fully customizable for the first time. Weapon stats are far more detailed, and guns support 3 decal slots. Fully upgraded weapons also gain augments for ammo modifiers, and underneath all of it sits a new element-based modification system. Damage types are a genuine pillar here rather than a footnote. That Elementalist build is the proof. It turns the Hunter's particle beam into a cryopulse. It mods the Medic's combat stems to release electric damage. It carries a flamethrower and a brand new railgun for piercing armored mini-bosses, and it puts incendiary rounds on a standard pistol using the new augment slot. On the other side of that, the enemy roster has grown a lot. The Drone, the Crusher, and the Striker all returned from the first game. What is new is a set of battlefield roles designed to break up how squads play. The Exploder pressures you with suicide detonations. The Siren works as a living alarm that calls in reinforcements. The Warden is a heavy frontline Xenomorph built specifically to disrupt your formation. There is also a Harbinger and a Bulwark in the roster. The behavior underneath has changed too. Xenomorphs swarm in large numbers and ambush you out of shadows. They crawl across walls to get around your firing lines, and the design specifically punishes teams that split up or lose control of a space. And it is not only Xenomorphs, you will also face Pathogen creatures and Weyland-Yutani combat synthetics. Those are three genuinely separate enemy factions with different counters. Horde mode ships at launch this time, and it has dedicated maps built for it rather than reusing campaign levels. The structure is escalating waves with increasingly valuable rewards the deeper your squad survives. And here is the part I like. Each Horde session randomly decides which of those three factions you are fighting. So one run is Xenomorphs, the next might be Pathogen creatures, and the one after that is Weyland-Yutani synthetics. That is a real replayability hook because the counters you need are different each time. A build tuned for swarming Xenomorphs is not the build you want against armored synthetics. It also gives your specialist somewhere obvious to live. If the specialist is meant for the highest difficulties, Horde is where you go to prove a build works. Back to the additions for a second because there is a detail worth knowing. The $9.99 Romulus pack is sold separately rather than bundled into the Premium Edition. So the Premium Edition and the Romulus pack are two different purchases. What the Romulus pack actually contains is more interesting than a skin. Rain's modified pulse rifle has a cryo underbarrel that can immobilize and shatter enemies. The developers have used it as their first public example of that element-based mod system, so it is a cosmetic pack carrying a genuinely functional weapon. Before we wrap, here's what has not been confirmed. Nobody has given a campaign length or a mission count. There is no announced post-launch roadmap beyond the packs we just talked about. PC system requirements have not been published, and we do not know whether any progression from the first game carries across. One thing that has been confirmed is that friendly fire is a toggle, so how much your Grenadier friend can ruin your day is genuinely up to your squad. One more thing worth flagging, honestly. Almost everything in this video comes from the studio's own showcases rather than hands-on impressions. Nobody outside Cold Iron has played a final build, so treat anything you read on those open points as an estimate rather than a fact. And that is everything you need to know about Aliens Fireteam Elite 2 going into launch. Quick recap for you. It is August the 25th at $49.99. You get 4-player squads with full crossplay, plus 6 classes with a Buildcraft class sitting on top of them. There is Horde mode at launch and 3 separate enemy factions to deal with. I am not giving you a buy or skip call today. That is what the Before You Buy is for, and that lands 4 days out from launch. There is also an early reviews roundup coming about a week before release. So subscribe and turn on notifications if you want those. Now tell me down in the comments which class are you starting with and what is the first specialist build you're going to chase. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.